my name is Terri Sproul, and I'd like to welcome you to my studio and to welcome you to the very first Saturday Craft Fair. We are so excited. Me and the other designers are very excited to bring you this, and it's going to be something we're going to be bringing back in the future, so let us know that you like it or not. Check us out on our Facebook page. I do a live show every Tuesday night, so I hope you join me in the future. I start at 6 p.m. on Pacific Standard Time. That's 7 p.m. for you Mountain people. That's 8 p.m. for you Central people. And that is 9 p.m. for the Eastern Time. As you know, this is a live show, and unfortunately, I am unable to be here live. But I didn't want to miss out on this wonderful event. So I made you a recording, so you are kind of getting me live for the project that I want to make. So let's get down to my studio. I'm going to go ahead, or excuse me, my tabletop here. I'm going to go ahead and drop the camera down, and we are going to go ahead and get started there. So hold on while I switch cameras. Okay, there's the other camera. Not too painful, huh? Today I'm going to teach you this really cool technique on how to make a really fun vase for super, super cheap. This vase I probably made for less than $1. And it all depends on how much you spend on the vase in the first place. I try to go to thrift stores because I'm very thrifty. The joke around my house is my gravestone will say that she never paid retail. So I want to teach you this really cool technique, so let's get going. First thing you need to do is find yourself a jar. And any glass jar will work. I know this quite doesn't look glass right now because the first thing I did, and I did do this off camera so it would have a chance to dry, is to cover the whole thing with either clear gesso, which you can get at Michael's, or you can cover it with PPA matte, which you can get at US Art Quest, and that's usartquest.com. We're going to actually use the gloss to do this technique in a few, but they also have a matte. And the difference between the matte and the gloss is if you are working on a glossy surface, glass is glossy, you use gloss. When you're working on a matte surface, you use matte. But you can use it as a primer. But again, I used clear gesso, which you can find in the fine art section of Michael's or Hobby Lobby. So I'm going to set this aside, and we're going to get working on the next part of our vase. Oh, and by the way, I got my vase for $1. Yes, $1. So far I'm pretty cheaply into this project. The next thing you need, which is another really cheap item, is tissue paper. And this is the tissue paper that you get when you wrap presents and stuff. You buy this type of tissue paper. So this is all you need. And how much you need, it really depends on how big of a project you're going to do. My project is just that vase, so I'm probably going to need about 1 sheet of this tissue paper. And I might actually get some extra out of this, and maybe I can do something different with it. The next thing you need is a stamp. And this can be any stamp you want. This particular one is just a flower stamp, which I thought would be really pretty for my friend that I'm making this for. But on this one, and I'm going to bring this in closer so you can see it, I used a swirl stamp. See all these areas right here? There's a good one right there. See that? Oh. You can kind of see it. Let me see if I can bring it in just a little more there. See the swirls right there? So that's a swirl stamp. Oh, see, that one's turned. That shows really well. See that? So that's what we're looking at. And that's what we're going to do here. So you just need any type of stamp. I wouldn't get something that was very detailed. I'd get something that's more solid. It does make a better impression. You also need some clear embossing powder. I'm using some from Stuart Superior, but can have any type of clear embossing powder you want. And you also need an embossing ink pad. Yes, I pulled out the big one just to make it easier for me on as far as being on film goes. I like to keep one of my little tidy trays underneath me to help catch all the excess because you know this is all reusable. And then you also need 3 different types of sprays. And these are those ink sprays that everybody has. And actually you don't need to have 3 colors. You can have 1 color to 20 colors. It's really up to you. I'm using 3 colors. And the ones that I am using, these again are from Stuart Superior, and they're called Memory Mist. And the colors I am using are the orange juice, the green tea, and this last one is called Blue Lagoon. So those are the three that I'm using. So let's go ahead and get started so you know what you need. And remember, this is being recorded so that if you miss a part, you can just come back and watch it again. And all of my shows, as far as that go, on Tuesday night are recorded. So check out some of the techniques that I do. I do techniques, so I hope you join me. I do some fun stuff. Okay, so you need to have your tissue paper all pulled out here for yourself. And what we're going to start doing is doing some random stamping with this stamp. And you can have multiple different types of stamps. You don't have to just have one. But like I said, I'm kind of making this for somebody, so I kind of have something in mind. So this is a Christmas gift, actually. This is going to be a very cheap Christmas gift because I don't know about all you guys, but, you know, money's tight. So that's what I wanted to show you. Now, I can probably get away with probably stamping 2 or 3 of these before I have to put the embossing powder on because you know it stays pretty wet for a pretty good long time. So I'm going to do these 3. And then what you're going to do, I'm going to get my tray here. You're going to put some clear embossing powder onto those spots that we just put in embossing powder or embossing ink on with the stamp. And my excess is going right into my little container here. And I see a little spot I missed here, so I'm going to grab that real quick. And I guess I forgot to say that you need an embossing gun. Well, of course you need an embossing gun, so make sure you have your embossing gun ready for you also. And then you're just going to heat emboss these sections. Okay, those are done. I'm going to keep going. And basically you would fill up as much as you would need of this tissue paper doing that exact same thing. Now I'm not going to bore you too much and do too much more, but I do want to do a little bit more just so I can give you a really good idea of how to make this vase that I'm going to make. So be patient with me here a little. I know this is like watching paint dry, but like I said, be patient with me. It's hard to do. Sometimes it's hard to do a lot of prep in advance. Okay, so I got 3 more stamps, and I'm going to go ahead and, again, put my embossing powder on those 3 stamps and heat emboss them again. I hope you all entered to win the iPad. I'm excited. I really want one of those, but you know, let me be eligible. That's okay. I get to have the best part. I get to spend time with you guys. So, real quickly, this is why I love these things. Just pour it right back into that embossing jar. Isn't that awesome? Love that. I do a really cool technique using clear embossing powder that you can check out on my videos that are here on link to. So check those out. Okay, I'm really liking this flower design. I'm glad I went with it. I think I've got a big enough section to start working with just to show you guys. I can come back later and make more for myself if I need to. It's probably going to need more than this to finish that vase. So next thing I would do is once I have all of the design done on here and embossed, that's the first thing you need to do, is get all that done. Once that's done, then you're going to spray your inks onto this. And basically everywhere that the flowers are, that's going to resist the sprays. Now, I'm a little bit of a neat person. I try to keep my desk somewhat neat. Joke, joke, funny, funny, ha, ha. So I'm going to use the spray box. And this is just a box that I got in the mail from something that I ordered at one time. And I use it till it pretty much dies, and then I get another box. So really, again, all about recycling. And I'm just going to spray some colors of ink directly onto my tissue paper. So I'm getting all different colors on here. Got some water in there by accident, so I'm going to pull that out of there and not do what I normally do. Give me just 20 seconds here, guys. I apologize. There's some water on here, and it's screwing my thingy up. Bad, bad, bad. So I would just continue to spray until I get all the colors that I like on here. And you want to saturate it as much as you think you need the color to be saturated. Nothing, you know, overly huge, but definitely get some color in there. And then you would just go back with the tissue paper, and the ink is just going to resist right off of where all of those flowers were as this dries. See how pretty that is? I'm just going to give this just a few seconds to dry, because it won't take long. It's, as you know, it's tissue paper and just ink, so it ain't going to take real long to dry. Let's see if I can speed it up just a tad so you guys don't have to watch it dry. If you do speed it up, make sure you keep your heat gun really far from your project so you don't reheat that embossing powder, because that's not what you want to do. You just want to dry the ink that's on there. So if you're being impatient and you need to do that, this is the way you would want to do it without ruining anything. Okay. I think that's good and dry. I think it's dry enough to go on and show you guys what to do. Now, this is the time that you're going to bring your vase back up. And I want you to rip pieces of the tissue paper off. I don't want uniform pieces. They have to be ripped. I don't even like to have straight edges, to be honest. I do try to rip, though, nicely around the flower, because I will use that as a focal point. And I'm not going to care if I did rip a flower, which I did there, you know. And you don't want big pieces, but you don't want really, really small pieces. I'd say about this size, which is what? The size of my palm of my hand, give or take. So again, this is all, it's like watching paint dry, and I apologize for that. So I hope you guys check out all the other designers we have today. I know we have Sin, and we have Joe, and we have Charity Wings. I'm not sure if it's going to be Elena or somebody else doing it for Charity Wings, but that's really cool. Now, I have made myself a pile of tissue paper here, and like I said, this is probably not going to finish this whole vase, but we'll get it started. The next thing you want to do is grab your PPA gloss, and this is from usartquest.com, and that's where you could buy this to do this project. This is a really wonderful product, and the reason I really like it, especially with tissue, is it's specially designed for paper. So you end up getting no wrinkles and stuff, because as you know probably, tissue paper can be it can wrinkle very easily, even easier than regular paper, as you can, of course. So that's why it makes it so difficult. So I'm just going to take my vase and I'm going to start, let me zoom in for you guys just a tad, give you a better view of this. Okay, so I'm just going to start taking my paintbrush and start painting on some of this PPA gloss from US Art Quest. And then you're just going to start taking your tissue paper and start laying it right into the, this is sort of like doing Mod Podge, but the reason that you wouldn't want to use, say, Mod Podge and you'd want to use PPA, and is like what I was saying earlier, it doesn't really wrinkle as much. You can really lay your tissues down really nicely. And it'll give you a really nice, clean, their products are really awesome. I like the way they made this. So there's my first piece already laying down. So I'm just going to keep, and I do, I overlap. So I definitely don't put, try to match it up and piece it in. Overlap and get the pieces in as you need them. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to go off camera there. Shame on me. Bringing it in close enough that I could see what I was doing. Sorry there, guys. And then you just keep going all the way around this whole piece and keep adding and adding more and more till you basically have covered the whole thing. You can actually come in with just irregular tissues, excuse me, not tissues, napkins, and you can get some really beautiful pieces off of napkins. Let me see here, I want this piece right here. See how nicely this is laying on there? I mean, this is tissue. Tissue would rip and not lay nicely and give you all kinds of problems if you don't use PPA. Look how nice, oh, I really like that. Isn't that pretty? So if you have some really pretty fancy tissues, napkins, not tissues, napkins like this, you can cut things out of it, like this right here. I'm not going to put this on because I don't want it for this project. But you would cut it out, and then you would take all the layers off so that you end up with just the color layer and not all these back layers. And the easiest way to do that, usually, if you're having trouble, is put a piece of tape on the back here. I pull it off, and I get it down to just the color layer. See that? So it becomes real translucent, and it's just color. If you see white back here, you need to keep pulling layers off. And then I could do the exact same thing with that. That could get laid right into my project here, if that's what I wanted to do. Even at the top after I'm done. So you can put layers upon layers. So your ideas are totally endless. If you do watch my show, I believe it was the show right before Thanksgiving, I have I think I did 2 projects that day, and I basically showed them how to make really cheap Christmas gifts. And this is kind of going along with that same theory, is a really nice cheap Christmas gift. And basically, I'm not going to keep you too much longer because at this point, you're kind of getting the idea. You just keep going till you fill the whole vase up. And I do try to keep my pretty images, the ones that like in this case was the flowers. Those I do try to keep where they are going to be well shown and maybe not overlapping this one. See how nicely that laid? And as far as what you could do with this vase, this could be a vase that you would put, flowers in. It's perfectly safe for that. Or something else that's really pretty is if you put a string of lights inside this vase, the lights will shine through, and it just looks so pretty with all the colors and all the inks, because it's still pretty translucent when it's completely done, because it's tissue paper, so it's still very translucent. So I would continue around the whole vase until I got it completely covered. And when it's completely covered, I'm going to pull this one up here. It's going to look a lot like this one does. Isn't that pretty? Obviously I use different colors on here and a different stamp. And you want to go all the way to the edge, pretty with like a gold leaf on the edge. And actually US Art Quest has gilding, or even a gold, you know those gold markers? Would go really quickly around that and give it a really nice finished look. I think I might do that. I just finished this one to show you what a finished one looks like. So I wanted to have two of them. So I hope you enjoyed my show today. Let me go switch back cameras here so I can say goodbye properly. Okay, thanks. I hope you enjoyed that project and you think about coming to see me on Tuesday nights. Again, I'm here every Tuesday night, except for a couple of the holidays that are coming up. I believe Christmas and New Year's this year is actually on a Tuesday night, so obviously I'm not going to be there for those weeks. And I hope you obviously understand that. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful Christmas, and I hope you think about this idea and you use it. Join me on Tuesday night. You have a wonderful, wonderful holiday.